Ladies and gentlemen, I am Vice Mayor ROZZANA, VERDER-ALIGA. Welcome to our beautiful and historic city. And let us begin. If you're able to, please remain standing. And those that cannot, you can stay seated. And let's remain standing for about 4 minutes while the Rear Admiral Richard O'Kane Division of the U.S. Naval Sea Cadet Corps Guard parade the colors, and then we will sing the national anthem with the Naval Sea Cadet CHESKA TAGLE, and then we will follow World War II Congressional Gold Medal Luther Hendricks for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will get invocation from Reverend Ray Bernardes. Color Guard, parade the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land and of the free and the home of the brave?
The States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation by Reverend Ray Bernardes. Please remain standing for the invocation by Reverend Ray Bernardes.
Let's bow our heads together. Our Father in heaven, this Veterans Day, we request your blessing upon our service members, past and present, and to solemnly remember those who died to preserve our liberty and freedom in our nation and in the world. We as a nation are grateful for all those who served, and for some whose sacrifice have blessed this nation with freedom and a rich heritage. We also remember in prayer their families while they serve our nation in the air or on land or in the sea. O Lord, be gracious and merciful unto all present, citizens of this blessed nation. Let your light shine upon us. May your amazing grace lead us, for you are our God, and unto you we attribute glory now and forever. In the name of Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen.
We would like to thank the Sea Cadets, and I would like to just acknowledge them. We have Cadet Atia, Cadet Goss, Cadet Davis, and Cadet Gaetano. Thank you so much for expertly parading the colors like they always do on our annual ceremonies here for Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and the wreaths across America. Thank you very much. Thank you to Cadet CHESKA TAGLE for fabulously singing our national anthem. She is always does a wonderful job. By the way, these Sea Cadets belong to the Rear Admiral Richard O'Kane Division based here in the Bay Area. And in World War II, then Lieutenant Commander O'Kane commanded the Mare Island built submarine USS Tang, which is credited with sinking the most ever enemy ships and tonnage in U.S. submarine history. And Commander O'Kane was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. Let us also say thank you to our own U.S. Marine Corps veteran, Luther Hendricks, right here, World War II veteran, for leading the Pledge of Allegiance, and Corporal Hendricks gallantly fought in Iwo Jima and other Pacific islands during World War II, and he received the Montford Point Marines Congressional Gold Medal during President Obama's term. Let's give Luther Hendricks a big hand. Thank you to Reverend Ray Bernardes for doing both the invocation and the benediction today. And Reverend Ray Bernardes proudly served during the Vietnam War, and he is the Lord's Fellowship in Vallejo church pastor and founder of the Global Center for Success, which provides immense assistance to our less fortunate neighbors. Let's give Ray Bernardes a big hand. So, ladies and gentlemen, are we ready today, and aren't we excited? Thank you for the beautiful weather. And let us first express our gratitude to our veterans and service members here today. World War II veterans, if you are present today, please wave your hand, and let's salute them by clapping and thanking them for dedicated service in the 1940s. Korean veterans, please wave your hands, and let's thank them for their dedication to duty in the 1950s. Vietnam War veterans, wave your hands. I know there's a lot of you here. Thank you for your dedication to duty for America in the 1960s. Operation Desert Storm veterans, please wave your hands. Thank you for Operation Desert Storm and for your dedication to America in the 1990s. The Global War on Terrorism veterans, which include Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom, please wave your hands if you are here, and let's salute them. My husband is one of them. Thank you for your dedication to duty for America since September 11, 2001. And peacetime veterans, please wave your hands. We salute them, and we would like to honor you as well, and thank you for the peacetime veterans for your dedication to duty for America. And lastly, let us thank the families, friends, and supporters of our troops and veterans. And you're here, veteran families and friends. Thank you for your unconditional love and sacrifices, and thank you for supporting our troops. I am going to change the program here because we have, oh no, we don't. Congressman Garamendi, we're going to call you here after we have the mayor. Mayor McConnell is, of course, a decorated combat veteran, and he valiantly served in Vietnam. And he was elected to the Vallejo City Council in 2011 and as mayor in 2020. He is a full-time attorney and specializes in bankruptcy and Chapter 7 clients. And ladies and gentlemen, our beloved Mayor, Robert McConnell.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. And good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you for being here. Veterans Day and Memorial Day, two distinct and different types of holidays. On Veterans Day, we like to remember those who are still living. And the function of the veterans community really is to welcome back those who have had to serve and have to heal. So this community helped me do that, and I say to you, thank you, because I could not have done it without you. That's a continuing mission. Unfortunately, we will continue to have these types of disputes over the years to come. So as you go forward, please don't forget our most important role, which is to welcome back, to embrace, and to heal those who have to do so. There are still many of our veterans out there. They're not always apparent. You have to reach out to them and do it not in a demanding way, because it will result in them going the other way. But for those of you who have done it, for those of you who know people who are in those circumstances, please be a consistent support to them. So thank you for being here. Let's get on with the program. Vice Mayor.
Yes, Mayor McConnell, thank you so much. And I would like to move forward with our introduction, brief introduction of our incoming U.S. Representative, Congressman John Garamendi, who was just elected. And as you know, he has been in public office since 1974, was also insurance commissioner and served in the California legislature. Thank you so much for being with us today. So it's a short introduction. Congressman John Garamendi.
Thank you. A very, very special day. Mayor, you hit it directly. This is about the veterans that are alive and with us today. As I was seated and watching the color guard come forward, the view that we have are veterans of yesterday. This cemetery is really a way for us to consider how we can forget, wrongly forget. It wasn't but a few years ago that this place was basically abandoned and had overgrown. The various memorials were on the ground or didn't exist. But the community saw the past and they saw the future simultaneously. They knew that by ignoring the past, they would also be ignoring the present and the future. And so the community here in Vallejo, my colleague Mike Thompson, Mel, you and Nestor and others in this community said, wait a minute, we cannot think about today without remembering yesterday. And so you rebuilt this. This is now a formal cemetery for the Veterans Affairs. It is a signal to us that yesterday is here today. And we need to be honoring our veterans by not only remembering them, but perhaps even more important, make sure that they have all that they need to thrive. They provided the service. They provided what this nation needed to secure our freedoms. They provided their lives in some cases, in many cases, severe disabilities. And as we've gone through this war on terror, I came to the Congress in 2009, and there was a backlog throughout the Veterans Administration that was despicable. And so over the years, we've provided more and more money trying to provide the necessary services. We're not there yet. As we've gone through these years, we've learned that there are veterans that are excluded from services because there is no direct connection to a disability. And so beginning 5, 6, 7 years ago, we began looking at those various ways in which veterans were not given the services that they justifiably needed and deserved. The big issue was exposure to toxics. We began with a piece of legislation that we called the Oath Act, which required that going forward, the military keep very careful records of exposures that any military service person or civilian might have received during their service. Now we've taken that a step further. We started this with the Vietnam Agent Orange issue, said we're not going to debate this. If they were exposed to Agent Orange, they're covered, period. And then we've expanded that to shipboard exposure, and we've also brought it back home to the various depots, saying that if there's any exposure, you're covered. This year, we provide an additional piece of legislation that simply covers all the burn pits, all the exposure that may have occurred in Iraq or Afghanistan or in any of those areas. This is an ongoing issue. These are issues that have been brought to those of us in Congress by the veterans organizations and by several of you that are here today in this crowd. We have always more work to do, not just maintaining and remembering the past, but also thinking about today and looking towards tomorrow. So going forward, We now know that in the military, any exposure to any toxic is going to be in the permanent record of that individual, and it will be not assumed, it will be a fact that if there is an illness that has resulted from any of those exposures, they will be covered. And we've broadened that out now to basically cover all of Afghanistan and all of Iraq and the various countries around that area. None of this could have happened. None of it could have happened without the veterans organizations. You brought this issue to Congress, and it has now been manifest, and it's now the law. And those services will be provided. It's an ongoing issue going forward. We owe our freedom. We owe much of the strength of this nation to the men and women that have served in our military. And so today we honor them and we remember them. And should any of us ever forget, the veterans organizations, I'm sure, will come knocking on the door and say, well, wait now. Pay attention. Thank you all for paying attention. It's a great privilege to be with you on this Veterans Day.
Thank you, Congressman John Garamendi. Looking forward to working with you, and yes, we will be knocking at your door at the halls of Congress. Thank you so much. Today, I would also like to acknowledge the elected officials that are present this morning. First, I would like to honor and call on Supervisor, District 2, Solano County. Monica Brown is here with us today. Thank you, Supervisor Brown. You're always here at this ceremony. Thank you so much for your presence. Representing Congressman Mike Thompson, we have Melor Villa. My colleagues on the City Council are here today. Councilmember Katie Meisner. Councilmember Pippin Du is here. Thank you very much. I would like to introduce to you Mr. Julie Blia to introduce our speaker, Delphine Metcalf-Foster.
First of all, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. I didn't expect to speak, but it's nice because look at all the people you get a chance to follow and learn some good stuff. I'm Julio Blia. I'm a retired Navy Command Master Chief, and I would like to introduce Miss Daphne Metcalf-Foster in the red outfit. She is a past national president of the Disabled American Veterans. And that's important because she knows what it's like to be a disabled veteran and things that need to be done to protect our veterans. You served one day, you're a veteran. So if you serve 2 weeks, you're still a veteran. Call yourself a veteran. Ms. Metcalf enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1975. She was injured during Desert Storm and was awarded a Bronze Star. She retired after 21 years as a first sergeant when she embarked on a mission to improve the outreach and services for all veterans. She was recently elected in 2004 as the DAV California Commander. That's quite an honor, but the responsibility that goes with it is even bigger. She is the first woman to lead 3 major national veterans organizations, and Congressman Mike Thompson and Mr. Garamendi recently introduced Bill H.R. 9237 to name Mare Island Veterans Affairs Outpatient Clinic as the Daphne Metcalf-Foster Clinic. And you drove by it this morning. You didn't realize it, but the sign's going to go up soon. And the rest of her bio is in the program. So without further interruption by my remarks, I would like to introduce the first sergeant, Miss Daphne Metcalf-Foster.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's such a pleasure to be here, my hometown. I was just telling the congressman, I said, yeah. I said, it's always good to come back to your hometown and to have had the journey that I had by leaving here and remembering to come back and bring it back to Vallejo. I'd like to start today by thanking all of us among us who, despite the risk and sacrifices, raised their hands to serve and defend this beautiful country. Our veterans, active duty service members, guardsmen, and reservists. Your service has helped to keep our country and its citizens safe and free. All your service people, please stand to be recognized. We want to recognize you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's also take a moment to acknowledge those families of service members and veterans who helped shoulder the weight of war and the burdens of sacrifice. To the mothers, to the fathers, spouses, and children of our military men and women, thank you. Your love, support, and resilience are the backbone of this nation, and that must never be forgotten. I also want to thank the many of you who never were in the military, but who are here out of the sense of an obligation to those who sacrifice for our country. You don't have to have served to serve those who did. Your contributions to the veterans and military-connected community are appreciated. Today, we are gathered here on hallowed ground where more than 850 veterans, including 3 Medal of Honor recipients, rest in honor glory. What you cannot tell today is that sadly, these grounds haven't always been so glorious. After the base closed in 1996, the cemetery fell into the state of despair. Fortunately, in 2021, Congress initiated a 2-year process to transfer maintenance of the VA National Cemetery Administration. It is my sincere hope and wish that further generations in the country continue to honor this sacred site. I'm proud to be here today representing the DAV, the Disabled American Veterans, an organization with a proud history of always being there when we are needed. Over a century ago, DAV was just starting its journey. Our founder, World War I veteran, Judge Robert Marks, was beginning to shape the organization that would affect the lives of countless veterans and their families for generations to come. Marks, who had recently severely injured in combat and received the Distinguished Service Cross, had witnessed and had challenges that several veterans faced after returning home from the war. Many of them were seriously disabled and unable to find work or access proper medical care. Few resources existed to aid them who served so honorably in the nation's defense, and Judge Marks vowed to bring about change. He began to advocate for the men and women who risked all for the sake of this country, particularly those who were injured or became ill in the course of doing so. But he didn't do it alone. Veterans across the country came together, not to help themselves, but to help others. They knew that an organization of veterans, by veterans, for veterans, had the best chance of keeping the promises to all those who sacrificed so much. This year, as we mark Veterans Day, this also celebrates Judge Marks and his fellow veterans for the legacy they left behind. They laid an unshakable foundation that enables us to still do the work that we can do, and we are here today as veterans. Veterans like Army Staff Sergeant Adam Alexander. On November the 10th, 2011, the eve of Veterans Day, enemy bullets rained down on Adam's remote fire base in Afghanistan. As he was attempting to clear his mechanical jam automatic grenade launcher, a sniper bullet ripped through the center of Adam's forehead and exited out the right side of his helmet. 6 days later, Adam woke up in Walter Reed National Military Center in Maryland. He had lost his right eye, and there were extensive damage to the right lobe of his brain. Doctors had to remove part of his skull to allow the brain to swell outward. Over the course of 10 months, Adams underwent nearly every type of therapy and the Minneapolis VA Medical Center had to offer. He had to reel in on his basic functions most of us take for granted every day. His remarkable recovery is a testament and determination of resiliency. Today, Adam is a devoted advocate for DAV and his fellow veterans, a life member of Chapter 17 in Wisconsin. Adam co-hosts a half-an-hour public access television called The Outpost, alongside retired Lieutenant Colonel Hurt. The pair served together in the 432nd Civil Air Control. Together they bring attention to the DAV mission and give local veterans a platform to share their stories. For some veterans, it's the first time they're recounting their military experiences. Adam enlisted to make his time on this earth count. Enemy fire tried to cut that time short, but Adam overcame the odds. 11 years ago, on Veterans Day, Adam Alexander was fighting for his life. Today, he is fighting for his fellow veterans. He is a reminder and an inspiration to continue to support our brothers and sisters in arms every day of the year. Our mission at DAV is to ensure everyone who serves can lead a high-quality life with respect and dignity. As veterans, it is our duty and our honor to be an active part of that mission. But all of us, veterans and civilians alike, have a role to play in supporting those who bear the burdens of war. Sometimes just sitting down to talk with the veteran or their family members can go a long way. Let them know that they are not alone, and if you can work with an organization such as DAV and many more organizations to donate your time to give back to those who serve. Thank you for taking the time to honor our heroes. God bless you, bless our veterans, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Delphine. Thank you so much. Looking forward to ribbon cutting of the naming the Veterans Clinic here in Vallejo under you, for you in your honor, Delphine Metcalf-Foster. Thank you so much. We'd like to introduce the person who will introduce our keynote speaker is Navy veteran Steve Nash, who was actually just elected to the Novato City Council. So we want to congratulate him. Steve Nash, please come forward.
Well, I got to read the Admiral's speech first. Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Nash, U.S. Navy veteran stationed over in Alameda, and I'm also the president of the Vallejo Navy League Council. I want to thank you this morning for being here, and I'm going to have the distinct honor of introducing our keynote speaker, Rear Admiral Dollaga, who is a native of Vallejo. A couple of weeks ago, he came out here for a whole different plan, and then I think we worked on him enough, he came back. Believe it or not, he's only going to be here for 24 hours. He's wheels up tonight, so thank you very much for traveling. He proudly attended the Vallejo City Unified School District, was a Hogan High School Navy JROTC Training Corps cadet, graduated in 1986 with honors. I'm a little older than that.
You don't look it.
In 1990, he graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy, and he also earned a master's degree from George Washington University. Rear Admiral Dollaga's sea tours include Executive Officer of the USS Cheyenne. He commanded the USS Charlotte, and he also served as a Commodore of the Submarine Development Squadron 12. Rear Admiral Dollaga's flag assignments include Commander of Undersea Warfare Fighting Development Center and Commander of Submarine Group 7, leading undersea operations in both the United States Central Command and United States Indo-Pacific areas of responsibility. The rest of his bio is in the program, so without further delay, Rear Admiral Dollaga.
Good morning. First of all, it's such an honor to be here with you today. It's always great to break away from the halls of the Pentagon. So particularly it's special to get away from the Pentagon and be here in my hometown of Vallejo, a city that so clearly values the military and the service of American military members as well as their families, made throughout history, especially on Veterans Day. So we're gathered today to pay tribute to the heroes buried here behind me who gave all for our nation. But before I begin, I would be remiss if I did not say thank you to all of those who coordinated the ceremony and who've planned many over the years in support of our veterans. Specifically, I'd like to thank Mr. Nestor Aliga and his better half, Vice Mayor Aliga. I love the fact that you crowbarred me out of the Pentagon again for a second time to come to my hometown. So I'm beyond humbled to stand behind a legend, Miss Delphine Metcalf-Foster, and in the presence of so many who paved the way for me. So this morning I'd like to take a little bit of time to talk about Vallejo, service to our country, and of course, our veterans. Three things I think this event is meant to have us reflect on. So I'm a product of Vallejo public school systems, born and raised in Vallejo. And growing up, I would walk the waterfront with my family and my sisters as a little kid looking across Mare Island Strait into Mare Island Naval Shipyard with those black, sleek things above the water called submarines. But that's right. I love it. Diesel boats forever. You haven't heard that. I'm nuclear trained, but diesel boats forever. But as a little kid, I never thought I would make it. I never thought I would make the cut to be part of that silent service, United States Submarine Force. And in truth, I may have never made it where I am today if it was not for the phenomenal support of my parents, who are in the crowd, my sisters, who helped raise me, because I had no brothers, my school teachers, my school administrators, and the mentors that I've had in my hometown of Vallejo. So luckily, the city looked out for me. They put me on the right path to apply for and be accepted into the United States Naval Academy. Then, fast forward, not only joining the submarine force, but being a lieutenant on board the USS Los Angeles fast-attack submarine, being overhauled at Mare Island Naval Shipyard from 1993 to 1995, I was able to recognize firsthand the exceptional capability here from the citizens of Vallejo, men and women working in the shipyard to prepare and repair that great national defense asset called the submarine. I couldn't have been more proud of my hometown during those 2 years being stationed here and watching us fix the Los Angeles and taking it back to the front lines in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. So as I walk around Vallejo today and see all the people gathered here to recognize these veterans, I feel completely humbled by your continued support of the military. You understand that the sacrifices these young men and women made throughout history have not only given us the freedom to come together like this, but they have given people like me the chance to serve my country as well. The individuals you honor have given something up for all of us. It's truly inspiring. Now, as for service, I know I don't have to tell anyone here the importance of service to our country. And I don't just mean military service, because there's so many other ways to serve your community and give back to our great nation. The more we serve our communities, the more we encourage the next generation to do the same. Now, my service has afforded me so many incredible opportunities, not the least of which is being here with you today. Because throughout my 32 years of commissioned service, I was able to command a nuclear-powered submarine, the USS Charlotte, out of Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, served as Commodore of Submarine Development Squadron 12 in Groton, Connecticut, where I led 9 fast-attack submarines, going up against the Atlantic, the Russians, and the China as well as Iran in the 5th and 7th fleets. Before becoming my current job as Chief of Legislative Affairs for the Secretary of the Navy and the Chief of Naval Operations, I commanded Submarine Group 7 in Yokosuka, Japan, where I oversaw and controlled the submarine operations in the Western Pacific as well as the Indian Oceans. I completed 3 overseas deployments in both the Pacific and the Atlantic and 5 strategic deterrent patrols in the Atlantic. So it's not lost on me that many of these opportunities came as a result of those who paved the way for me from my hometown of Vallejo. Not just those that I mentioned in the city of Vallejo, but those who served that I may have never known, which is why I'd like to spend my last few minutes talking about them, our United States veterans. So when I was in Vallejo last month, I had the incredible opportunity to link up with the submarine veterans of the American Legion Post 550 and share stories about their time in the service. A lot on diesel boats. From one person to the next, I heard of adversities, but also of harrowing moments of pride from their time in the Navy. They were stories of sacrifice, but also of lives well lived. Miss Delphine Metcalf-Foster, who we heard about, your story is also one that we'll not soon forget. Thank you for your service. There is another veteran story I want to share with you today. And this story is special to me and to the United States Navy. It is the story of Fireman Telesfloro de la Cruz Trinidad, the only Filipino in the United States Navy to be awarded the Medal of Honor. Now, he received the honor for his actions on the USS San Diego in 1915. And at a time when the Medal of Honor could be awarded for non-combatant valor. Trinidad, who died in 1968 at age 77, was aboard the USS San Diego in January 1915 when boilers exploded, killing 9 and injuring many others. Now, at the time of the explosion, Trinidad was driven out of fire room number 2 by the force of the blast. But at once, he returned and picked up Fireman Second Class Daly, whom he saw to be injured, and proceeded to bring him out of that fire room. While passing into fire room number 4, Trinidad was just in time to catch the explosion coming out of fire room number 3. But without consideration for his own safety, and although badly burned about the face, he passed Fireman Daly on to someone else and then assisted in rescuing another injured man in the still burning number 3 fire room. Now, Telesfloro Trinidad was among the more than 250,000 Filipino soldiers and sailors who served in both world wars, but is the first and only to have been awarded the Medal of Honor. And earlier this year, my boss, the Secretary of the Navy, Carlos Del Toro, announced that Trinidad will be the first American of Filipino descent to have a U.S. Navy warship named after him, a future Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer. Now, his is a story for the history books, and one that I am proud to share with all of you gathered here today. But there are many other stories from our veterans that will not be written down. And as a child, I was fortunate to hear those stories from my father and my stepfather. My charge to you gathered here today is to seek them out and listen. I guarantee they will inspire you and others for generations to come. Now, in closing, I want to thank you, Vallejo, for your unyielding support for your service members and our military. Your Navy is grateful to have you. You are the reason we get underway and go far from home and away from our families to carry our nation's missions and defend our great nation. So all of the veterans, active duty and reserve service members here, thank you for your service. I know I stand on the shoulders of giants, and I'm humbled and grateful for the leaders of Vallejo to be part of this ceremony today. Thank you for continuing to believe in this great city that has inspired generations of children to serve their country. Every day, those of us in uniform continue to serve, and we are reminded of and grateful for all of you who have made our service possible. God bless you, God bless the United States veterans, and God bless the great United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rear Admiral Leonard Butch Dollaga. What outstanding accomplishments. We're very proud of you, native Vallejoan, and the Filipino American community and the city of Vallejo truly, truly appreciate you being here today. Thank you very much. I'd like to call on Joyce Giles to please join me up front. Joyce Giles and the Mare Island Historic Parks Foundation placed a wreath at the USS Boston Monument in honor of all the soldiers, Marines, and sailors buried here, and particularly to remember 15 USS Boston sailors that were killed on June 13, 1892, during a horrific explosion nearby. The explosion was one of the most horrific events ever in California. All the 15 soldiers were buried with full military honors later in 1892. The crew dedicated the USS Boston Monument over here. If you could please visit it later. And after this ceremony, please, if you have any questions, meet and talk with Joyce Giles. She's our walking historical encyclopedia and also co-authored the book called Mare Island Cemetery. So moving forward, the playing of the taps is going to be next, and it is unique to the United States military as the call is sounded at funerals, wreath-laying ceremonies, and memorial services. Ronald Aquistapache of Bugles Across America has been playing taps all around the Bay Area for decades. Let's please stand for the taps. Present arms. Order, arms. Please remain standing for Reverend Bernades's benediction.
Dear God, the dedication to duty of our service members is the fiber of our freedom and democracy, and it is stronger by our recognition of their service, valor, and sacrifice. Freedom and democracy are the result of the most honorable that this country has produced. Today, we stand to remember these honorable citizens. We must continue to carry the burden of their service and sacrifice, lest we lose sight of what true freedom is. Today is for honoring them, to remember their burden they carried, to hold in our hearts the cause of freedom. And so we give you thanks, Father, for these brave men and women. We conclude with these words from Christ Jesus our Lord, who said, "There is no greater love than this, for one to lay down his life for others." Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Ray. Thank you to our service members and fellow veterans for your dedication to duty to our great nation. Thank you, families and friends, for being here today to pay tribute to all our troops and veterans. May God bless each of us. God bless America. Happy Veterans Day, and please join us at another ceremony at 11 a.m. behind City Hall. Thank you very much. Be safe and take care.